So again, welcome to the Center for Applied AI's weekly Lunchbox webinar. Just a quick reminder right up front here, if you could all make sure that your mics are muted, whether you're on a laptop or your phone or whatever, please make sure you're muted. My name is Ed Mellick. I am the Director of Business Development and Responsible AI for the Center. And in just a few moments, I'm going to be introducing today's speaker. But just first here, a quick word about what we do. The Center for Applied AI is part of UMBC Training Centers. We are a DC, Baltimore-based nonprofit. We provide technology, leadership, innovation, and project management training to government organizations and the private sector. We also offer consulting services, strategy sessions, and boot camps and other types of services. Our clients include professionals from places like the NSA, T. Rowe Price, Army Research Lab, BGE Exelon, Army Cyber Command, many organizations. And our classes and courses are typically expert taught and applied learning focused. And we offer off-the-shelf training like CompTIA preparation for certifications, all the way to customized training and everything in between. So just a quick introduction. Now for today's presentation, Liam Eklund is going to be giving us a tour of HuggingFace today. So Liam, take it away.
All right, here we go. Just loading up the slides here. Excellent. Okay. So, welcome everybody to this tour of HuggingFace, specifically geared toward the kind of developer mindset here. So, yes, HuggingFace, like the emoji, that's where they get their name from. Hence the weird photo of the little hugging face emoji that you'll see all plastered all over their site and branding materials and everything. But it is indeed called HuggingFace. Now, so HuggingFace, you can find on the web at huggingface.co. That's .Columbia, not .com, not .ai. Those are domain squatters. HuggingFace.Columbia. So make sure if you're navigating to HuggingFace, you find the right domain there. And what HuggingFace is basically it's a one-stop shop for open source, available public models and data sets for machine learning, AI, natural language processing, all that kind of good stuff there. In addition to being this kind of repository of information knowledge, they also have a number of useful libraries and facilities available to you when you sign up on HuggingFace. For one, there is the Transformers Pipeline Library, which we're going to take a look at today from a developer's perspective. It's a great way of dealing with, of managing models and getting inputs and outputs, lined up and, working together in a very easy, ergonomic way. Not only does that have a useful pipeline library, there's also an excellent tokenizer library. And part of the process of moving something through an AI model is you have to tokenize it first, and you have to detokenize the end. So HuggingFace is a great set of libraries for if you're starting at development by building your own natural language processing system with pre-built very fast tokenizers. And one of the really cool features, which will be a nice demo at the end there, is their concept of spaces. These are going to be like custom machine learning endpoints or apps that you can just develop on HuggingFace and deploy for free effectively. You'll be a little limited in terms of compute time, but we're going to take a look at that when we talk about pricing for HuggingFace, because that's our first stop on the tour here. So HuggingFace comes in a couple of different account tiers. There's a free tier, which is available to all, doesn't cost anything, you just got to sign up an email address and you're fine. Which gives you access to essentially unlimited uploads of models, data sets, spaces. Yeah, unlimited. Like they're not going to cap you on just the number of things that you have stored here in HuggingFace. You can sign up for a pro account, which I do recommend. It's got a lot of good power to it. They essentially add you into beta features, which are going to be useful things for managing cooldown times and being able to hook things up together. They also have an enterprise level account where if you're dealing with an organization or you're part of an organization, you want to have multiple people use HuggingFace, it's a great collaborative tool there. The pro account is $9 a month and the enterprise account is $20 per seat per month. But like I said, even the free tier has a lot of capability to talk about, to work with. Now, I did mention that you essentially get compute for free on this HuggingFace platform. It's true. There is a free tier of compute power that you get with Spaces just by default, even with a free tier account. You'll get a little compute instance that's like 2 virtual CPUs and about like 16 gigs of RAM or so to run whatever application you happen to be, working through machine learning with. And they have very fine gradations of capability and power going from about 3 cents an hour to $10 an hour. The high end, where you get this 24 CPU, 250 gigs of RAM, H100, GPU card with 80 gigs of RAM, of video RAM on it. And you can even customize it even further if you like, but that's when you get into like, I'm in the enterprise account level, and I want to have like specific, machine needs for the apps I'm building and deploying here on Hugging Face. So lots of different possibilities when it comes to pricing in Hugging Face, and it's something you can start using now just for free. Oh, thank you to Shar for posting the link in there, both for the C4A website as well as the Hugging Face link. Much appreciated. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you can find on Hugging Face today. In the realm of machine learning and AI models, there's over 700,000 pre-trained models available just on Hugging Face. That's right. You just get them and they're sitting there. You can download them, you can play with them, deploy them, whatever you need to do for either exploring AI or making your own models or applications or whatnot. Those models are already trained, already ready for you to run them. If instead you'd rather go back to the raw data sets, there's 160,000 or so, well, roughly, raw data sets available on Hugging Face as well. So if you want to actually pre-train your own model, you can do that with these existing open source available data sets on Hugging Face. Really, really useful for when you need to build your own model or your own engine that's got to work slightly differently from some of the existing pre-trained models. These models and data sets encompass things like computer vision, image recognition, natural language processing, text prediction, audio generation and recognition, robotics, control, tabular data, relational data. All kinds of predictive powers are in these models across all kinds of domains, even multimodal ones that you want to cross between these types of or domains of work that you're working with AI on. You're going to find some fairly well-known open source ones, such as Mistral, Llama, Phi2. Is it Phi2 or Phi2? I've never actually heard it pronounced. I've only ever read it in like news articles there. Open Journey, lots of stuff available to you here on Hugging Face. And it's very easy to filter these things by the type of work you're trying to do, what languages working on. If you're talking natural language processing, if you're talking Chinese or English or Portuguese. By license, because of course licensing is very important when you get down to the deployment of these open source models. You have to make sure that you're following the license agreement or whatever model it is that you're working with. We're going to see a little bit of a tour of the website itself when we get to the live demo portion of the talk here. And live demos are always full of fun and never have any problems whatsoever. So we're looking forward to that a little bit later in the talk here. As a matter of fact, let's start out with a little bit of a live demo here for the developer pipeline. So Hugging Face is really well built for developers to work with. They've got a great bunch of libraries in the form of the Transformers library. They provide a unified API for working with, downloading, exercising, integrating all of these models on Hugging Face. There's a huge library of possible tokenizers when you're trying to break down your inputs and then rebuild your outputs, because as you may or may not know, AIs work entirely on numbers. Okay, they don't actually understand the text you're feeding them. They turn the text into numbers, they manipulate the numbers, out come new numbers, and then turn those numbers back into the word that we're used to. Okay? That's the rough developer pipeline of how these things work. And the Transformers library for Hugging Face allows you to manipulate and work with these things very, very easily and very ergonomic. It's a very nice one. And we're going to take a demo of it right now. So let's take a look here. I'm going to try and share my screen. This may or may not work, but I'm pretty confident it's gonna. So let's head on over to, okay. So I'm gonna share here. This particular little window here is a connection to our AI lab house, or our Ale house. It's a little server we've got here at the Center for Applied AI, which we can do like various development on, working around with our AI tools. And in this case, I'm gonna give you a little demo of Hugging Face's model with the pipeline. So for this, we're going to do a little bit of Python programming. If it scares you, don't worry, it's Python. It's going to be kind of easy to follow along with. We're not going to do anything too complex. We're talking like maybe like 6 lines of code here at most. It should be pretty understandable the entire time. So I'm going to start up. First, I'm going to make sure I'm in a virtual environment here. I've already have one set up and ready to go. So let me just start it up. Now I'm talking on a different keyboard and my fingers are all going the wrong places. So let's go ahead and start our Python environment here. And what we want to do to make this thing work here is we're going to need to bring in, excuse me, we're going to need to bring in our transformers library, and we're going to bring in specifically a function known as the pipeline function. This is a very nice unified ergonomic API for dealing with the various Hugging Face tools. I also want to bring in PyTorch because that's the particular model I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to import our Torch library here to start with. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to reach out for this transformers library that's published by Hugging Face here. I'm going to pull out the pipeline function and I'm going to work with that specific function in the transformers library. So from transformers, import not Optimus Prime, pipeline is what I want. Sorry, too much TV. All right, from terms inform the pipeline function here. Now, this pipeline function essentially allows you to connect directly to a model from Hugging Face. I have nothing downloaded from Hugging Face here at the moment, but this pipeline function is going to know how to connect to Hugging Face. It's going to know how to pull out the model that I want for the particular task I'm trying to solve. If it wants to pull out a specific named model, I can do so. And it's going to give me back a nice little pipeline-like interface that I can start feeding data in and I'll start getting data out, just like that. So I'm going to build a text classifier. Let's build a text classifier here. We're just going to do some plain old sentiment analysis. Well, I'm going to build a classifier, and it's going to be from my pipeline, and I'm going to do one for sentiment analysis. That's a pretty good one. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. We get a couple of warnings. That's kind of minor here. It's because I'm just saying, hey, I want to do sentiment analysis without specifying a specifically named model. Because if I'm just saying, hey, I want to do this, okay, Hugging Face is rightly warning me, saying, you know what? If someone else's library becomes popular to make it, somewhat different results or like, functionality here, you probably want to name, especially in the production environment, the specific model that you want by name. I just said, give me a sentiment analysis library, and it happily found one for me. You'll note those little progress bars on the screen there. That's my Python code going out to Hugging Face and downloading the library. Downloading the model that it needs for this particular bit of code here. So pull down all the tensors it needed, pull out the vocabulary for the tokenizer it's going to be using by default here, and we're ready to go. That's it. It downloaded it automatically for me. We'll talk about how it works in terms of caching to help lower bandwidth and latency costs in a moment. So we will come back to that, I promise. Then let's actually do some sentiment analysis here. Let me say, all right, I want to know if the following sentence is a good one or a bad one. I love this pipeline interface that Hugging Face provides. Thinks for a moment, passes through the model. Now it comes that it is indeed a positive sentiment. It thinks that this is a positive statement I'm making right now, which is true. I do like Hugging Face. On the other hand, I can give it some, more negative thing to look at. Let's go ahead and ask it let's give it a different statement to analyze here for sentiment. Namely, I never liked that Ishtar movie. Wait, what was that Ishtar movie? I can't remember. Was it one of the 80s with like rollerblading or something? No, not rollerblading. It was like at some point, someone in the audience is desperately trying to shout out the name of that movie that involved like roller skating in the 80s. That was like, really bad. I thought it was called Ishtar. I'm probably wrong on that one. Anyway, but it says that, yes, this is a negative sentiment. Apparently I didn't like the movie called Ishtar. That's a different movie, and I'm totally off in that. I should have taken notes, obviously, but hey, we got what we got here. So here's an example. This here is the example of how easy and ergonomic it is to use the pipeline interface provided to you by Hugging Face in their Transformers library. And the Transformers library contains all kinds of great, useful tools available to you. Tokenizers, models, auto models, detections, pipelines, all kinds of good stuff for you. Here we're just scratching the surface of how easy it is to get up and running with the pipeline interface in the Hugging Face Transformers library. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a different look here. We're going to now transition away from like the coding experience here. We're going to take a look at the Hugging Face actual website. So I'm going to take a different share here. Let me pull it up. That is going to be this button. I'm going to share this one right here. Cool. So here you see me logged into huggingface.co. Remember, that's co as in Columbia, not co as in .com. And from our little site here in Hugging Face, you can see that we have available models, datasets, spaces, And there's a huge amount of documentation available for you on Hugging Face as well, for you to get started doing development with AI models. It's really one-stop shop for almost anything you need to do, from anything you need to do from a developer perspective. Let's take a look at the models here. I promised you that you had like over 700,000 models on Hugging Face. It's true. You got 702,222, and that number just keeps going up. Because once you make a Hugging Face account, you can start uploading your own pre-trained models and your own data sets and make your own spaces. We're going to take a look at doing that in just a moment here. You can see here that you can filter down the kind of models that you want to look at by what type of tasks they're apt for, whether it is, image to text, text to image, natural language processing, classifications, text to speech, tabular, and relational data classification. All kinds of good stuff here that you can do with the various models available on Hugging Face. They do like to sort them by trending. That's not exactly my particular favorite way of sorting models here. But you can actually search for absolutely anything you want here and take a look at the model itself. I actually got in on here on the Llama 3 model, which I've been granted access to. If you are at a private corporation or you're worried about potential leakage of the model, but you still want to publish on Hugging Face, that's totally possible. They allow certain kinds of license agreements such that people are only allowed to actually view or use your model if they agree to share certain information with you, like say an email address or something like that. Which is exactly what Meta is doing when I ask for access here to the Llama 3 model. But looking at any given model on Hugging Face, there's a full model card describing what the model is, what it's used for, maybe some ideas of where it's getting data from, a license, very important for all these things to make sure you pay attention to the license. Along with sample code to get started, all kinds of good stuff here you can do with the various model card that essentially summarizes up the model on Hugging Face for you. You can actually view the tensor files themselves if you want to. I can see here it's at 17 gigs worth of tensor information stored here in the Llama 3 model. I think it was the 8 billion token one. That sounds right. So you can actually see all the stuff. And if you're an eagle-eyed developer, you might notice that it says LFS there. Yes. All of our models, all of our data sets, even all of our spaces are all done essentially through Git repositories on Hugging Face. And this is using the Git large file storage because these are large files. So essentially this entire thing is also version controlled for you, which is great when you're trying to manage, and manage large models, data sets, and spaces to essentially make sure that you're not losing track of the information or that you're essentially doing change tracking for whatever it is you're trying to work on. So if those are our models, let's also take a look at our data sets. Incidentally, before I move on from models here, you can filter down your models essentially by any metric you want. You want to filter by what license is available? Totally possible. Want to filter by what human language processing you're doing? Also totally doable. Definitely very useful for finding the kind of model that you need in a hurry. Now, our data sets are indeed the raw data sets that we're ingesting to build and pre-train our models. And once again, you can find data sets for particular tasks. I'm going to pick out one here. As long as I'm next, I'll hit my back button. Let me pick that up, not by trending, but by moves down. That sounds awesome. I'll go with NNLU Databricks. That sounds not too bad. Unfortunately, I'm human eval. Unfortunately, I'm going to click on a model that I don't know what the model is. So, hopefully it's going to be reasonable for us to look at here. AI2Arc doesn't sound too bad. But for each one of these things, you can actually take a look at the data sets. Okay, I can actually look at each data set here, what the identifier is, what the question or choices are, what the answer key is for each one of these things that you want to pre-train your model on. And they have a full, let me scroll a little bit better here, viewer of the data sets. I can go through all 12 pages of inputs here. They have a more easy to work data set viewer rather than just a data set card, which allows you once again look for all the data that you want to online interactively, like so. And once again, these are also Git repositories. I can just go straight to the files and take a look at the data that I want to work with, just like that. So I can look at both the Arc Easy and Arc Challenge questions here for this particular data set, and I can use it to start training immediately using our cool pipeline interface that Hugging Face provides. So the last thing I want to bring our attention to here on the Hugging Face site itself is spaces. So spaces are essentially machine learning endpoints on the web that you can just connect to, and start using as a site. For instance, if I bring up, say, there's a llama one. I don't even know what the space is. I'm clicking blindly. Hopefully it's not offensive. And it's not. Great. This one here apparently does some image work. Then some decoding with some input text and like, have all this kind of like, interface and drag and drops here for you. While this looks fancy, it's not exactly a great demo of how quickly you can get started with the actual space here, because this is literally a code repository that someone created here on Hugging Face and is now hosting their app on Hugging Face for this. Let's build our own app, our own space here on Hugging Face. I'm going to hop in here, hop back in here and say, I want to create a new space. We're going to see how easy it is to get started here in Hugging Face by creating a new space endpoint. So for our lunch and learn here, which is what I'm going to call here, you pick the license that's appropriate for whatever work you're doing. I'm going to pick MIT license because it's a reasonable license. And you have a software developer kit choice that you can make here. I'm going to pick it via Streamlit, Gradio. If you want to have a specific Docker template that you upload and they build the Docker template for you, that's fine. Or they can just give you like a static site setup here. I'm going to start with Streamlit because that gives us some nice, graphical, things to poke on here and work with. The question was asked if I can search for datasets to test for deepfake detection tools. I haven't tried that. It's not an unreasonable thing to search for. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of things for like, AI analysis in the set of datasets available to us. So I'm going to use Streamlit, like I said, because it's pretty straightforward. Here you get to pick what kind of hardware your space is going to run on, and of course, how much it might cost. Because I'm showing you this from a free account specifically, all right? While I may have a paid account, I want to show you that even with a free account, you can get access to all this stuff that easily. You can start stuff running that easily. Like I said, you can pick things from various gradations of pay level based on how much oomph you want to put into your particular app here. So I'm going to stick with the free version here, which is 2 virtual CPUs and 16 gigs of RAM. If you want SSH or VS Code direct access, if you have a pro account, that's possible. You just turn on dev mode and you're ready to go. And you can also have private instances, even better. So if you want to keep some kind of app private but still host on Hugging Face, totally possible. So we're going to create the space, and it's done. We now have a space ready to go. And now they've just created a Git repository for us. We are ready to start developing. Awesome. Let's do it. I can indeed clone the thing via Git, develop something on my home computer, then push it back up here, and then have it launch and whatnot. Or we can go the GitHub route and we can just develop straight in the browser here. Because once again, Hugging Face's APIs are pretty darn easy to use. So let's do that. I'm going to hop down here where I can just create my files directly in the browser. So here is my repository ready to go for this particular lunch and learn space here. Because it's going to involve a couple of libraries, let me go ahead and import the right ones I'm going to need here. So I'm going to need to build a requirements.txt file, because this is going to be like a Streamlit app, which I use this as a set of Python stuff to load up what libraries it wants. We're going to need Streamlit we don't need to bring in here, but we are need to bring in transformers. Yeah. I know it's not provided by Hugging Face by default, but whatever. And of course, we're also going to need PyTorch. Yeah. I'm going to throw these things directly on the main branch. I don't care. If this was a real engineering, if this was a real engineering situation, I'd probably create a separate branch because that'd be a smart developer thing to do. But I'm not a smart developer today. So we've got our requirements.txt. Let's build ourselves an app file for this lunch and learn space now. So once again, there's going to be some really simple Python code. We're talking like maybe 10 lines at most. Let's build a new file. So we're going to build our app. I'm going to call it app.py. Now we're going to need to bring in the right libraries here. So I'm going to need to bring in a Streamlit library. So import Streamlit as st, not static method, thank you. Very nice autocomplete. It was very impressive, but it was not what I wanted. Thank you. And of course, we're going to need our transforms library once again. Let's pull in that pipeline. Our sentiment analysis worked so well last time, we can do it again. So from transformers, import pipeline. Cool. All right. Let's make a pipeline here. This once again is going to be from our pipeline. And I'm going to stick with this plain old sentiment analysis because that's pretty straightforward. You type in some text to see whether it was positive or negative. So sentiment analysis. Okay. Cool, I got my pipeline ready to go. Now I just need to feed some text into it. Well, for that, we need someone to actually have a text box they can type into. Let's reach for Streamlit to give that to us. Text equals streamlit.text area. Okay. That'll pop up a little text area box in the web there that I can type stuff into, and I can feed it back into my pipeline. Indeed, if there's any text that was typed in, Let's go ahead and spit out the JSON version. We'll keep it real simple here, just see the exact outputs, no fancy formatting, anything like that. Let's spit out the pipelines result of the text being passed in. There you go. We got 6 lines of Python code. You can argue to make it 7, still have it be pretty readable. And that's going to be a nice little app for us to do sentiment analysis on text. Once again, this is an app that we're developing right here in Hugging Face. You want to connect different endpoints? Totally possible. You want to connect various spaces together and have them talk together, via network communication? Totally possible. All the stuff works for you with Hugging Face here. It's a really powerful engine for building out these AI tools and apps. So, because Hugging Face supports continuous deployment and continuous integration, you can see up here that little blue button saying it's currently building my app for me. Yeah, it's checking out the things it needs from the requirements.txt file, setting up the environment for this thing to run in, and as soon as that finishes, of course, it's middle of the day, so it's taking a little bit longer than usual, but we'll be ready to go, because once again, this is a full continuous integration, continuous deployment tool here in Hugging Face to build these space objects. To get a better sense of where it is in the building process, I'm actually going to look at the app itself now, which is a nice little log of what's going on here. Queued up a build. Nope, still crashing here. Hopefully I didn't do this right at lunch when everyone is hopping on to Hugging Face and building their own spaces, because that's the kind of thing you do at lunch after all, right? So that might be what's going on right now in terms of it taking a little bit longer. Normally this takes only maybe 20-30 second launch, even on the super low tier of hardware there. So while that's loading up there, that is taking a long time to build.
So Liam, while we're waiting, I thought I'd ask a question, which is apropos. How's the documentation on Hugging Face? AWS, in the past I've found has struggled with documentation for developers. What's your current thought on the documentation and how good it is?
That is a great question, Tom. The Hugging Face documentation is fantastic. They are extremely in-depth. They have both tutorials and reference documents, which is sometimes hard to find. Many places, when they want to use stuff, will give you just reference documentation. You have to figure out how to use it yourself. You build your own tutorial effectively. Here they have great documentation on pretty much every single part of their API, on how the things work, on the actual usage of the thing, on all the various tools available to us here in Hugging Face. It gets a gold star for documentation. It's right up there with FreeBSD. So let's see how we're doing. No, we're still building. Man, it's taking a while here. Make sure I didn't make any horrible typos that are causing the build to fail. I don't think I did. Nope. Nope. We'll just do the build there. I'm gonna hop back and take another look here at my. I hit the wrong button. Let me get back to my. That is also the wrong button. I want this meat.
Hey Liam, is it running slow? Possibly, are you using a free platform right now, or is
I'm using a free platform? Usually, it still just takes about 15 minutes to spin up a free platform, though. I'm surprised it's actually taking this long. Once again, I suspect it's all these people coming in at lunch here, but I can narrate to you what it would have looked like, which is you get the little text box, and you type stuff in the text box, and it spits out this thing for you. And now you have a web API endpoint you can have people navigate to via that URL, which I'm going to put into the chat here. It's going to cause everyone to hit it, and that's going to make it more popular, and therefore it's going to launch faster. At least that's my twisted logic there. But now when you access this, you'll be able to actually use this app and find out, hey, the sentence I typed in, is it a positive or negative sentence? What's its sentiment there? Since this is taking so long and we're getting a little bit over 12:30 here, let me come back to our presentation here. I'm just going to leave that link there in the chat for anyone that eventually does want to get around to it when we finally finish the building. So let me come back to the slideshow here because I've got a couple more things to mention. I'm going to bring that back to base. There we go. Okay. Unfortunately, it doesn't save my slide position. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. There we go. So, any additional questions here on Hugging Face? Feel free to put them in the chat. That'd be perfectly fine, and we'll see if we can answer them for you from the developer's perspective.
Yeah, I mentioned, Liam, can you get, we may be doing some deepfake tool detection testing, and there are data sets, different data sets you can use. Can you search Hugging Face for that specifically?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yes, I searched for deepfake and I immediately got up a number of models for deepfake versus real image detection
Okay.
on, so ready to roll with that exactly. Yeah.
And in Liam, in Spaces, you you imported, Python libraries, you used Python.
Yeah.
What about other supported languages, in that interface? Are you aware?
Got you. For Spaces, I'm pretty sure that the container is just a Python container. But as I did point out, does allow you to put in Docker template files. So in theory, I haven't tested this out yet, but that's the question. You could put this in your language of choice for whatever that's not Python. Why would you do NL not in Python? But theoretically, a custom Docker file of yours would be able to say, hey, I want to set this up in a different language environment. You might need the pro tier for that one.
Thank you.
Sure.
And
How to build a custom model in HuggingFace. And Jaya, that is a great question you asked in the chat about how we can build a custom model in HuggingFace. It is going to be a much larger thing to do because you have to build a module from the training set data. But once you have it, you can just essentially upload your model, and you have unlimited models you can upload to HuggingFace, and you can use it from there just like that. Nicholas asked the question if we can build with R instead of Python. Like I just answered Tom here, I haven't tried that, but I suspect that because you can do custom Docker images, custom Docker container images for your space, that would work as well. But the typical one that most people go for is Python on this platform. I'm not seeing any other questions. We have gone a little bit over, so I appreciate your patience here. But I do want to call out once again things that Ed already mentioned at the start of the talk here. Namely, please mark your calendars because coming next week on June, I'm leaving my thing. There we go. That way. I'll point that way. On June 13th, which is next Thursday from 5 to 7 Eastern, here in Columbia, Maryland at the Center for Applied AI offices, we're going to have our second technical AI meetup and networking event. We're going to have some speakers featured. Matt Archibald, who I've known for years, is a great speaker, and some guy named Leon Eklund, not sure who he is. Then following Thursday, we're going to have how AI is transforming storytelling with Tom Courtney. Once again, is another lunch and learn. And following that, we'll have experimenting with organization design in the age of AI with Erwin, who's going to be our speaker then for June 27th. Once again, I also encourage you to join our community at the Center for Applied AI at c4a.ai website. Join our Slack workspace where we can get the recordings of these particular lunch and learn talks, as well as our meetup talks, as well as communicating with other people that might be, say, doing AI startups, or AI explorers, or developers, or prompt engineers, whatever you might find here. The QR code that you can see up here is for our Slack's workspace. Feel free to take a picture of that and join our Slack workspace. Join us for more lunch and learns and, of course, networking meetups, which will be announced on our Slack workspace as well. Turn it back over to either Tom or Ed, whoever manages to grab the microphone first.
The last quick question, Liam, is so you did post the link to the app that you were building.
Yeah, it just came up and I have an error.
Okay. And
Which is what you get when you do live software development, isn't it?
But we will be able to. So when you fix the error, we still can go and check out that app.
Absolutely, I'm going to keep
later
that thing
on.
up for till at least the next lunch and till at least the AI meetup that we're going to have here in a little bit. So
yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Liam.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, again, great job. You actually covered a few things I was going to talk about, so I get to say less. I do want to give people a quick reminder. If you're a working professional on the phone, and you're trying to get a technical certification, become a better leader, sharpen your innovation, project management skills, or improve your career in any number of ways, or you're an organization looking to put a cohort or your team or a larger number of people through workforce talent training, come to us. We're also happy to consult with you and just try to develop a professional talent development strategy with you. Please feel free to contact us. You can check us out on the web at c4a.ai, which Liam showed, also at umbctraining.com. You can email us too at c4a@umbctraining.com. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you all for joining us, and everybody have a great day. Hopefully we'll see a lot of you at the Columbia office next week on the 13th. Thanks all.
And the app is now fixed thanks to continuous deployment. So as soon as it finishes building, it should be ready to go now.
Okay, super. Thanks, everybody.